welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is the retirement of famous MLB umpire Andrew Hernandez. After that, we're moving into talking about the St. Louis Cardinals and the recent run they have been on, and my overall thoughts on them. After that, we'll be going over the Astros and some recent transactions they've made, and my overall thoughts on them. Then we'll be moving into the Cubs and Brewers game from yesterday, the storylines that went on there, and just my overall thoughts. And after that, we'll be going into some general news stories around the league, just some things I did want to talk about. Now, before we do all of that, though, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show for today. All right, so as I talked about, the first topic is going to be about Angel Hernandez and the retirement he now has from Major League Baseball. So if you don't know who Angel Hernandez is, well, I don't really think you'd be watching this if you don't know who Angel Hernandez is. I mean, he is one of the most famous MLB umpires ever. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, this guy, if there was ever a celebrity umpire, quote unquote, I think he would be him. Not really for a good reason, as most people know Angel Hernandez as being the worst MLB umpire maybe ever in baseball history. I think when you look at him, you look at his career and look at all the calls he's missed throughout his career. People do not like him. People think he's a disgrace to baseball, quote unquote. People think that he has no idea what he's doing. And mostly as a baseball fan, I would completely agree with that. I think that you look at over the years, you look at just the amount of calls he's missed, the amount of things he's done that are not professional and are just not exactly what you want to see from a professional MLB umpire. I think that they're all pretty fair, and I think that they're, again, very fair critiques of him. So having him retire kind of now was a little bit strange. I did not expect him to retire. I didn't think he would, but it finally happened, and I guess it's a day of reckoning for baseball fans, a day that a lot of them have been hoping for, and a day that makes them very, very excited. So, again, when you look at Angel Hernandez's career, you just think of controversy, and you think of being bad at your job, simply put. I mean, the amount of calls he's missed throughout the years is incredible. The amount of important calls as well. This is not just a guy who was a regular MLB umpire working random MLB season games. No, this is a guy that the league office liked. He was in a lot of countless playoff games throughout his career. There was one instance that people know a lot and has come up since retirement where he was umpiring a Yankees game in a very horrible call. Didn't really decide the entire game, but was somewhat of a factor. And I think whenever you're calling a playoff game, anything is a factor. And Yankees starting pitcher CC Sabathia called him out and said, I don't know why this guy's still umpiring MLB games. I don't know why he is still having an effect on these really important games. And that was kind of one of the big things where, okay, we've seen fans throughout the years make fun of him, not like him. I mean, there's been every year on Halloween, we see at least some kid who has a Angel Hernandez Halloween costume where he has the umpire stuff on, and then they say he's blind. So I've seen there was a lot of fan outcry to get rid of Angel Hernandez for a long time. I mean, going back into years before this, but having an MLB player who not only is just any MLB player, CC Sabathia, a guy who I think will be a Hall of Famer sooner rather than later, a really, really good player, having him call him out like this on a national stage in the playoffs, I think was a big turning point. And I think after that, you saw Hernandez's career kind of change. He didn't work as many playoff games, and he kind of fell into the background of MLB umpiring throughout his career and throughout the later half. So looking at Angel Hernandez and just his legacy on baseball, he's going to be remembered as one of the most infamous MLB umpires ever. Again, we know about how many calls he's missed over the years. We know that people think he was one of the worst. Again, I'd agree, but it is going to be really interesting and weird throughout the years now to just watch baseball and not see anyone on my timeline complaining about him. I mentioned that in the short I made about this yesterday when he did retire. But, throughout my years of being on social media and being a baseball fan, I at least see one fan of a team complaining that, what is Angel Hernandez doing? So that's going to be weird. But overall, I want to say I hope he does enjoy retirement. He does leave a pretty bad legacy on baseball. There are some other things he's done in his personal life as well that are not great reflecting on him. He tried to sue MLB after they took him out of playoff games, and apparently in court they wheeled out a TV and said, here's why we didn't put you on playoff games, because how bad you are at umpiring games. So, obviously that didn't really help, but, I hope he enjoys retirement. We've heard reporters have always had a good time with him, so maybe he's a nice guy who's just bad at his job. I think those things happen, but yeah, it is an interesting time now for baseball to see one of the most infamous umpires retiring, and it kind of seemed like he was forced out. It didn't say that in his press conference. He said basically, it was time, I wanted to leave, but a hit piece kind of came out on him from the New York Post a few days ago talking about how bad he was at his job, and the fan just anger of him has grown throughout the years. So I think everyone knew it was time to move on, and that is why he did end up retiring. Now, another thing I just want to connect to this is just the future of umpiring in general. I think when you look at these older umpires that are known for being bad at their job, retiring throughout the years, not just Angel Hernandez, but Joe Buck, even a few years ago, who people have known as one of the worst before that, he was more likable in the route of Angel Hernandez because Buck was at least older. He was a guy that, was like everyone kind of loved, even though he wasn't that great at his job. He was a country singer, so people did end up liking him, but seeing two of these guys who were known as the older generation of umpires, the guys who were kind of stuck in their ways, kind of iconic MLB umpires for good or for bad, seeing them retire, seeing them not be in the game, I think it does show a shift in the way umpiring is going to happen in the future. It shows a shift that, this is not just umpiring from the past where it's one guy making all the calls, that's it, and that's how it is. No, we have new things now where umpires, in the age of social media, in the age of media being just so prevalent in general, I'm doing it right now, I'd say, you have to be careful what you call. You have to be extra careful in everything because people are going to call you out on it. There's a platform for anyone to talk about anything they want, and if they don't like your call, if they don't like your call as an umpire, they'll tell the media about it. Someone will tweet about it. Someone will say, this guy's no good. So you're gonna have younger umpires now who are better at their jobs, know what they're doing, take it more carefully, take it with a lot more respect, and that's a good thing. And looking again at the future of umpiring, I think you look at something like an electronic strike zone, which is something that is going to be in baseball, I'd say, before 2030. I think 2030 is a little, probably, honestly, far away. I'd say maybe even before 2027. I think that this is something that is going to be a part of the future of baseball, having an electronic strike zone, and it's going to be changing the way that umpiring is going to happen. And I think you're seeing the change already with guys like Angel Hernandez, with guys like Joe Buck being forced out. You're having the older generation of umpiring being forced out, getting new people for it. And I think that's going to continue to happen. I think there's going to be a lot more changes within this. And I'm very interested to see what does end up happening, and very interested to see what the next step of umpiring in baseball looks like. And yeah, I think, again, Hernandez being forced out and retiring after all these years, after being the scapegoat for a lot of fans and hating on him, I think it shows a change, and it's going to be very interesting to happen. But again, just tying this all up with Angel Hernandez, it is going to be strange not having Hernandez in baseball, one of the most polarizing figures ever in baseball history, and that's not hard to do for an umpire. And that's pretty hard to do for an umpire, I should say. And I think there's a general rule with umpiring: if the fans know your name, you're not doing a good job. So I think when we know Angel Hernandez's name by heart, we know Joe Buck's name by heart, not doing a great job there because you don't want to know the umpire's names. So it's going to be very interesting to watch Hernandez in the future now and see what does end up happening here. Maybe he'll create a podcast or something. I don't know. I recommend it. It's pretty fun. So we'll have to see. But the big news yesterday: Andrew Hernandez being forced out by MLB, quote unquote. I do think that's what happened. Him retiring. And again, the future of umpiring is going to be interesting. The new generation of umpiring is going to be interesting. I'm very intrigued. Sorry with all the I words. I'm very intrigued to just see what does end up happening here, and what is going to end up happening. I think it's something that is going to be really, really interesting to see, and I think we're only at the start of this. So yeah, definitely something that's fun. But yeah, Andrew Hernandez retiring, one of the most polarizing figures of 2010s baseball, really baseball throughout the last 20-something years. And it'll be weird not seeing him out there, weird not seeing someone complain about him, but baseball's changing, and I think this is one of the big steps to show it really is. So, that was the end of our first segment here, talking about Angel Hernandez and his retirement from Major League Baseball. Going into our second segment here, which is going to be talking about the Cardinals and the recent run they have had over the past few games or so. Just my overall thoughts on their team and what is going on with them. So, yeah, we talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks.